This is the combination belt disc sander. It has a 4-inch wide belt and it has a, looks like a 12-inch, 10 or 12-inch wide disc. And this is useful for sanding a variety of things. This is a wood-only sander. We have a metal sander, a smaller one over by the bench vices and the grinders. So only use this one for wood. The disc does look like it's loaded up with a lot of gum and stuff, but it will still probably sand for us just fine. Safety operating procedures are posted on the tool or next to the tool. These procedures represent the most important safety operations and considerations while using this tool or equipment, but are not intended to be comprehensive coverage of every possible use. For more complete safety instructions, please refer to the tool and equipment user manuals. Do not use this machine unless you have been instructed in its safe use and operations and you are complying with college and departmental shop safety guidelines and procedures. Safety glasses are required at all times while using this tool. Safety goggles are recommended due to airborne sawdust. Hearing protection is required for extended use. For short periods of usage, hearing protection is recommended. A dust mask or N95 protection is required due to airborne sawdust. Long or loose hair, neckties, and loose or baggy clothing must be contained. Tie back or tie up hair, roll up long sleeves, tuck in your shirt. Rings, watches, and loose jewelry should not be worn. You may wear leather or work gloves to protect your fingers from accidentally coming into contact with moving belts and discs. Pre-operational safety checks. Locate and ensure you are familiar with all machine operations and controls. Controls and adjustments may vary from tool to tool, particularly among different manufacturers of the same type of tool. Use assigned metal sanders for metal sanding only. Use assigned wood sanders for wood sanding only. Check your sandpaper for flaws, imperfections, wear, or damage. Replace as needed. Adjust belt tracking as needed. Hold small pieces with the pliers or vice grips in order to keep your fingers away from abrasive surfaces. Use the appropriate sander for the size of the job. Adjust the table or tool support to be no more than 1/16 of an inch from the belt or the disc. Check your workspaces and walkways to ensure that no slip or trip hazards are present. Pick up cut-off scraps. Sweep up sawdust regularly. Your work area should be 3 to 4 feet larger than the length of your stock on all working sides of the tool. This allows you to move and adjust your material freely as needed. Keep the table and the work area clear of all tools, off-cut lumber, and sawdust. This is the on-off switch. On, off. There's an arrow here on the top saying rotation is this way, to remind you of that. Just like the arrow is right here saying rotation is that way. We can adjust this table. There are levers on both sides. And we can adjust this to anywhere to 45 and slightly above 45. We're going to set this back up to 90 degrees. 90 degrees is where it wants to live. If you're standing it up, it won't do any good to stand on the stand here because the sander will lift out of the stand. So you need to kind of push back on this and bring it up like that. But going down is easier. The belt does have the fence or the guide that your lumber and material rests on. You can change that to different angles, and if you want to change that to different angles, on the inside, on the opposite side of where I'm pointing here on the inside, there is a knob that has to be loosened with a 6mm hex key. You can loosen that up. And you can adjust that to a 45-degree angle or wherever you need it to be. Ideally, we want this to be 90 degrees to our belt, and we also want it to be 1/16 of an inch away from the belt. No greater. It was a little bit far away from the belt when we started. Good, and we're going to tighten it down. Oh, just moved out a square. And unfortunately, there's not enough room to get a good T-handle in here, so you have to use a tiny little hex key. I'm going to find one that's got a little more length to it, so I can get a little more leverage. I really don't want this moving. Okay, we're good. These two knobs don't actually adjust the belt tracking. They lock the tracking in place so that it doesn't move when you're in use. When we're using the sander, we do want to use a dust collector to collect dust. So I've got the dust collectors already hooked up to the tool, and it has a quick connect here, no screws necessary. This portable dust collector, it's shared between this tool and the two band saws. We don't use any of them with any great frequency, so the chances of us needing to use two or more of them at the same time is very rare. So get this dust collector, move it to the one of the three tools that you are using at the time, and just attach the quick connect, just like that. Plug in both the dust collector and the sander. Operational safety checks. These are safety checks you must be aware of at all times while using the tool, and you must check them and perform them every time you use the tool on every single operation or cut. Keep your hands away from the sanding surface at all times. Use light pressure only. You should not have to apply excessive pressure in order to get the tool to work. Always use the tool rest to support the workpiece. Never do freehand sanding, which is floating the piece away from the tool rest. Keep the workpiece moving across the sanding surface to avoid heat buildup, which can prematurely wear out the abrasive paper and also burn the workpiece. For disc sanding, keep the workpiece on the downward spinning side of the disc. For best results when sanding wood, sand parallel with the grain. Keep hands, especially the tips of the fingers, away from belts and discs and any moving parts. Watch belt tracking during use. Adjust as needed. You do need to always make sure that the material is resting on the tool support, on the wood support, either there or here. The wheel is spinning this way, counterclockwise. So that means we need to keep our wood to this half of the disc. We never want to let our wood drift to this half, because if we drift to this half, it's going to lift up on us. But if we're on this half, it's going to keep pushing it down on the table. And we need to keep the material on the table. As with all of our sanding devices, you need to keep the wood moving at all times. Don't sit in one place. If you sit in one place, it's going to start to burn like it's burning on this disc. This disc does need to be replaced, but I was able to round off that, so it's still got a bit of a bite to it. We can try to clean this out, but it's probably just going to be easier to replace the disc. So again, moving back and forth at all times. Keep it on the rest of the tool guide. So we can see the two different parts of the tool do two different things. I can also lift up and round it like this as long as I'm always keeping it touching the table. If I'm working with small pieces, I need to hold them with the pliers or some other hold down tool. I don't want to get my fingers anywhere near the sandpaper while it's moving. That's going to take off layers of skin and be really bad. Always hold your small pieces with some sort of pliers or anything to keep your hands away. You can wear gloves with this tool. If you want to wear leather gloves to protect your fingers, you can do that, just with this tool. Check your paper on both cases for any flaws. If there are flaws, they're going to tear open and then you're going to have to replace your disc, so better to replace it right away than to wait for it to fall apart. Also, only use light sanding. Don't force it too hard. It's going to sand as fast as it can based upon the level of grit of sandpaper either on the disc or on the belt. So just be patient with it and only go as fast as the tool can do. The fences here should be adjusted to within 1/16 of an inch of your paper. This gap should not be very big. And the same with this gap. You saw me adjusting that at the beginning of the video because this was A, out of square, it wasn't in the right angle, and B, it was too far away from the material. Before we change the disc on the disc sander, we're going to try using some of this belt sander cleaner and see whether we can clean some of this crap off of here. I think that's the best we can do, and that's to say all this gum and pitch is just not going to come out. I did get a little bit more cleaning happening here, but we should do this regularly before it gets built up to this level. And our cleaning tool for cleaning the belt. These are potential hazards to be aware of while operating this tool. Skin and eyes can come into contact with sparks or metal and wood chips and dust. Contact with abrasive belts, discs, or pads can cause skin abrasion and more serious injuries. Losing control of the workpiece is also likely. Flying chips and sawdust could cause eye injuries. Always wear safety glasses while using this tool. Sanding tools create inhalation hazards from sawdust and fine particles. Always wear a dust mask or respirator protection. Noise levels can rise above 100 decibels. Protect your ears by wearing hearing protection while using this tool. Do not use faulty equipment. If something is not working properly, or if you suspect something is wrong with the tool or machine, please report this to your instructor and/or to the A&L technical director. Do not force the sander. Never freehand sand. Always use the tool rest to support the workpiece. Housekeeping. Stay with the machine until the belt or disc comes to a complete stop. Blow dirt and dust out of the belt, disc, and motor housing with clean, dry air. Sweep and vacuum all wood chips and dust. Use a dust collection system when available. Cleanup will basically be brushing and dusting it off. I'm going to use the compressed air for a quick and there's a lot of dust in there that needs to be vacuumed out. I'm going to blow in there. And maybe I can get it to suck up. Beautiful. It's never looked so clean.